Hello and welcome to the table. I'm your host, Teen Wolf, and today we are going to be talking about the lore for the Brothers' War, which, to me, not the best set in the world, but it is quite fun to look at all the cards that have story, that interconnects to the old Brothers' War novels and whatnot. Now, this story is going to start off with a quick recap of what happened at the end of Dominaria United, where Karn, got kidnapped and brought to New Phyrexia, and his Sylex was destroyed. And it seemed, at first, that all hope was lost, until Saheeli revealed that she made a copy of that Sylex. Now, they didn't know how to activate it, but Teferi and Saheeli came up with a good idea to put their brainy heads together and get Teferi to go back in time. Now, at first I thought he was gonna travel with someone, but it doesn't seem like he's going to, actually, so I don't know. But anyways, so what he's going to do is he's going to go back in time to the time that it was used by Urza and just kind of witness it. Like, kind of see, okay, how exactly does this work? How is this thing used? And so once he sees how it works, he's going to get brought back to the present and use that new knowledge to destroy New Phyrexia. So, we jump into the lore. Obviously, Teferi and Saheeli are going to have to find a way to get him back in time, to go back in time. Now, what exactly did they do? Well, they built this kind of stasis chamber that they call the temporal anchor. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to kind of take Teferi's spirit out of his body and allow that spirit to go back in time. Now, obviously, that's gonna be hard to actually get to work. And, yeah, it doesn't work. So, Saheeli forges the anchor, the temporal anchor. They send Teferi back in time, and there's a little bit of time where the machine and just the timeline, or whatever you want to call it, desynchronizes. In the art and flavor text of Desynchronized, this is kind of showcased where it reads, before Kaya could pull Teferi's spirit back, the overloaded temporal anchor failed and he was set adrift in the currents of time. Now, what exactly is happening here? Well, so Kaya is the person taking Teferi's spirit out of his body when the temporal anchor is in use, and the temporal anchor is allowing that spirit to transfer to any point in time. And this little desynchronization is just a point where Kaya just fails to do that. But don't worry. In Soul Partition, in the art and flavor text of Soul Partition, we can see that, don't worry, it's all fine, because Teferi's body couldn't travel through time far enough, but with Kaya's help, his spirit could. So, his spirit, once Kaya kind of got her powers in the temporal anchor back in sync, his spirit could get sent back into time. So, now that we know that Teferi safely got back in time, went back in time, now we can talk about the early little seeds that got planted during the Brothers' War set to kind of show what's going to happen. What's going to lead up to the events happening, or that are going to cause the Brothers' War. So, young Urza, the Power Stone prodigy, and young Mishra, the excavation prodigy, are both young genius artificers whose parents had recently just died, and they go to their parents' friend Tokasia. And in the Art of Flavor text, Tokasia's welcome, it kind of showcases that they have found a new home with Tokasia, now that their mother and father are dead. And the flavor text of this card reads, "Your father was a dear friend to whom I owe much. He wanted me to look after you, to care for you, should something happen to him. So, he died, mother dead, now Tokasia is taking care of them." And Tokasia, like the young Urza and Mishra, is a genius artificer. Now, what exactly happens to where these brothers split? Because if you look at the art of Tokasia's welcome, they look very happy together. They all look happy. They look like they're having a good time. Well, Tokasia likes to excavate ruins and whatnot in a desert. As you can see in Tokasia Dig Site Mentor's art, you can see her clearly in a desert, kind of tinkering and looking at what looks to be some kind of old machine, which gets shown again later in the card Take Flight, but we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. So until then, we find ourselves in the desert, and in the art and flavor text of Stern Lesson, we can see and read, "The brothers are brilliant, but their quarreling will be the death of me." Tokasia journal entry. So these two, obviously, they're brothers. They obviously have some kind of rivalry with one another. I mean, that's to be expected. They like to kind of quarrel and fight with one another. And it's kind of funny that they bring up that it'll be the death of her, but we'll talk more about that later. But so, they're already kind of fighting with one another, but like I said, that's to be expected. They are young teenagers who just love to prove themselves right, and yeah, whatever. But anyways, so then we go to the Caves of Koilos, and the two brothers see a Power Stone. And that is when our story really begins. In the art and flavor text of splitting the Power Stone, we can see and read, "As the glowing stone broke apart, so did the last shred of the brothers' bond." So, these two were curious. They saw the Power Stone, they saw the power that it had, and they each wanted it for themselves. And they took it, but it split. Each one got a fragment of that power, but they each want all of that power. And that eventually leads to the end of their bond, their friendship, their brotherhood. And before the end, we see in the art and flavor text of Take Flight, the flavor text reads, "Though neither brother cared to admit it, flying the ancient Thopter," that Tokasia dug up earlier, was their last happy moment together. So at that point, I'm not 100% sure if they did or didn't have the Power Stones, each fragment of a Power Stone yet, but it showcases that was kind of the last moment that they had a bond. They were brothers. But then we fast forward a little bit and see the true end of a brotherhood in the art and flavor text of Brotherhood's End, which reads, "The brothers' rivalry escalated into all-out enmity, and Tokasia paid the price." These two each took their fragment of the Power Stone, and they were fed up with one another, and it ended up in Tocasia's end. And we can see Mishra running away from that last time he saw his last guardian, Tocasia, in the flavor text of Overwhelming Remorse, which reads, Tocasia's face haunted his vision. The explosion still run in his ears. Mishra kept running and never once looked back. That showcases the end of Urza and Mishra's brotherhood and the beginning of a great story leading up to the Brothers' War. So we fast forward into the future where Urza, Prince of Krug, and Mishra, Tamer of Makfawa, are now young adults, each of which wielding a fragment of a power stone, and each great and mighty artificers, which can be showcased in the art of Weakstone's subjugation for Mishra, and Mightstone's animation for Mishra. Now, obviously, Urza is older, and in his young adult card, he's called the Prince of Krug. Well, Urza, he fell in love and wanted to marry Kyla, the Queen of Krug. And so, when he was young, he had one of his machines, and with the help of his Mightstone, he won her heart, or at least his father's blessing to win her heart. What I mean by this is, in the card, Machine Over Matter, in the art and flavor text, and in the flavor text it reads, the warlord decreed that only someone who could move the statue would be strong enough to marry the princess. So Urza moved it with his machine, but that wasn't brought up. But you can obviously see it. So Urza married Queen Kyla bin Krug. He became the Prince of Krug. And yeah, they live happily ever after, for now. We look into Mishra right now, and he's having a little bit of a worse time. He really wants Urza dead. And, he finds help with Gix. Gix, he likes to twist the minds of his opponents, and we can see this in two different cards, the third of which being a card that you'll just see. The first one is Diabolic Intent, which in the art and flavor text you can see Gix just being terrifying. The flavor text reads, Gix pierced his disciples' minds and savored their experiences as he took in their knowledge. And yeah, that's terrifying. Then Mishra, like I said, he wanted to team up with Gix to kill his brother. And so Painful Quandary showcases the price he had to pay for that in the art and flavor text. The flavor text of which reads, in Mishra's desperation to destroy his brother, he allowed Gix to destroy him instead. Then we look at a different card, Dreams of Steel and Oil, the art, which looks really cool by the way, and the flavor text showcases how his mind's been twisted. The flavor text reads, Mishra's nightmares of Phyrexia rain with screams of agony and groans of twisted metal. The sounds stayed with him long after he awoke. That's terrifying. That is absolutely terrifying. So, we fast forward again, and now we see a bitter reunion. Urza, Mishra, both older now. They, well, they're not happy. The Peace Summit proved the grudge between Urza and Mishra could end only in blood. That is what that card reads, that is what that card shows, and that will be the beginning of the Brothers' War. This mainly takes place on Argoth, the Sanctum of Nature, where Titania lives, and Urza and Mishra, for some stupid reason, decide to battle. And Titania does not like this. And in the art and flavor text of Go for the Throat, it really highlights this, where it says, when Titania offered peace, Urza merely turned her down. Mishra made her people pay for the insult. And so yeah, some of her people got killed. Later, in a card called Awake in the Woods, the flavor text reads, we expected the Argothians to stand their ground. We didn't expect the ground itself to stand. Mural Shield of Argive, which is one of Urza's many generals and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. Urza and Mishra are fighting. Titania and the rest of Argoth are trying to fight against Urza and Mishra and get them off of their island before they corrupt it and destroy it. And, well, that just doesn't happen. So, we go to we see a new character introduced into the mix. Ashnod, the flesh mechanic. She is a artificer, and she wishes to help out Urza to destroy Mishra. And so she did a little bit of research. She knows that Gix is kind of manipulating, he's pulling the strings of Mishra and basically the Brothers' War. And so Ashnod, in the flavor text of Ashnod's intervention, it showcases that she's kind of picked up on this, where it reads, listen, Duck, Gix is everywhere, playing every side. Mishra won't listen, because his mind's been twisted, but perhaps Urza will. So she wants to help Urza to beat Mishra, but mainly to beat Gix. And so now we move on to the final battle, where there is an epic confrontation, where Urza and Mishra see each other for the last time. You've let yourself grow old, and your light is dimming. Shall we talk one last time, or must I slay you now? Mishra to Urza. Mishra has been taken by Phyrexia, and it is absolutely horrible. We can see this in the art and flavor text during their epic confrontation, Urza and Mishra's epic confrontation, where we read, Mishra was gone. All that remained was a machine wearing his face. A machine created and built by Gix and Phyrexia. This would spark his original hatred, Urza's original hatred for Phyrexia, and eventually lead to him wanting to destroy it. But that is, well, we've already covered that story. So now, Urza wants to destroy his brother, or what's left of his brother, and end Phyrexia. And so, with the help of Ashnod, they destroy, they create a Power Stone fracture, and destroy the Weak Stone. In the art and flavor text of Power Stone Fracture, it reads, move, when the Power Stone blows, that behemoth will be nothing but a hole in the ground. Ashnod to Hajar. And so, Mishra has been weakened, he has been beaten. And Ashnod hands off the Sylex to Thanos, who hands it off to Urza, who then activates it, seen by Teferi, and destroys Argoth. Ashnod, Thanos, his now non-immortal brother Mishra, everyone. Gix, of course, gets out of there because, yeah, Gix. But Urza has destroyed everything. He's activated his Sylex. He's destroyed Argoth. Everything. Creating Calamity's wake. In the art and flavor text of this card, we can see the outcome of that horrible war, where it reads, "The Sylex's blast has razed the land, leaving behind only snow and sorrow." Urza stood alone in the sudden silence. That marks the beginning of the Ice Age and the end of the Brothers' War story. Now, with that is going to be it for today's episode, where Urza and his brother Mishra fight against each other, and it ends up with Urza coming out on top and becoming one with the multiverse and becoming the first Planeswalker. And so, now that Teferi has seen the Sylex activated in front of himself, he now knows how to activate the Sylex. So now he will travel back to the present. He will share this knowledge with his friends and use it to destroy New Phyrexia once and for all. So with that, thank you for watching this episode of The Lore Table. I'm your host, Teen Wolf. Please consider subscribing, and I can't wait to see all of you in the next little bit of the lore. In Phyrexia, all will be one. See you next time.